This administration has directed DHS to conduct these raids as part of what I believe is this administration's campaign of terror, which is to make whole populations of people afraid to go to work. We say every person matters. We count. We make decisions based on who's here and what they need. And you and I will both suffer if that census count is flawed. And I'm telling you that given the policies of this administration, that is going to be a flawed census.
That was Senator Kamala Harris over the weekend on the recent raids targeting undocumented workers. With us now, NBC News correspondent Cal Perry. Cal, you just returned from the Mexican border with Guatemala, where you gained exclusive access to the Mexican National Guard on assignment there to slow down the flow of undocumented immigrants. Tell us about it.
Yeah, look, this is all a pressure campaign from President Trump. When you look at this administration, and you heard it there from Senator Harris, they've changed immigration in America. They've changed what it means to be an immigrant in America. But now these policies, this Trump-Miller doctrine, if you like it, it's having ripple effects all the way to the Mexico-Guatemala border.
In Tapachula, Mexico, most people are from somewhere else, and everybody has a story.
Did you think about going to the U.S.?
No.
No. Why not?
Because I got deported already.
What is it like here in Tapachula?
Like I don't know if it's bad for the expression, but it's not good.
Right now, the situation in America is very difficult for illegal immigrants.
President Trump isn't just affecting the lives of migrants, he's shifting policy inside Mexico. His tune on the country has recently, not so subtly, shifted.
I want to thank, by the way, the country of Mexico. They've got 21,000 soldiers on the border right now. I'm starting to like Mexico a lot.
This is the new reality for the Mexican government. Ever since President Trump threatened this country with tariffs, 11,000 new National Guardsmen have been stood up along the border with Guatemala. For the commander here and his personnel, the mission is as tenuous as the politics.
Nuestra función es dar seguridad y resguardar la actuación del agente de migración.
For security reasons, the military insisted we conceal his identity.
What's the stated mission of the soldiers who've been stood up here on the border?
Nosotros no podemos golpear, no podemos sujetar, no podemos perseguir al migrante.
Traveling back and forth between Mexico and Guatemala has been a part of daily life and commerce for centuries. It's only in the era of President Trump that you now officially need an ID when reaching the Mexican side of the river.
That show of force along the border with Guatemala is only half the story. The Mexican government is setting up centers like this one in an attempt to get migrants to register. It's their way of trying to bring some semblance of order in what is very clearly a chaotic situation.
People from all over the world queue up and jockey for position by the gates that seem to swing open at random. Authorities, both eager to get people into the system and at the same time are overwhelmed by the volume of human traffic. All the while, people are stuck here, many after a treacherous journey, afraid still to show their faces, fearing it'll hurt their chances of eventually making it to the United States. As night falls on this border town, we meet Ishmael. His parents brought him to California when he was only 3 years old. Recently deported, he's trying to get back to the only life and family he knows.
Are you trying to get back?
I am trying to get back.
How are you?
Either legally or, if possible, illegal. Yeah.
So you would cross back illegally if you had to?
Yes, definitely. Just to be back with my family.
Now, look, these policies are advertised as a deterrent, and they probably are, but the cost of that is just human suffering, people in detention on either side of the border, separated families, or in this case, people piling up at these border crossings, unable to move in either direction.
So, Cal, we see the extension of Trump's draconian policies into Mexico and how it's affecting the way Mexico governs. How will the Mexican president survive this? Because he seems to be the puppet of Donald Trump.
Yeah, so I don't know that he will. And you look at the election that happened in Guatemala last night,
the effect of these policies are governments moving to the right in this hemisphere, right? That's what's going to happen. We've seen this before. We've seen this story before where the U.S. puts pressure on certain governments, it swings them to the right, and it ends up changing policy. Mexico is in an untenable position. And when you add to that a shooting in El Paso by a gunman who said, I'm going to kill as many Mexicans as I can, you now have the Mexican government having to go out of its way to change its relationship with the U.S.
All right, NBC's Cal Perry, thank you so much. Another great report. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Coming up next, we're going to discuss what happens with Jeffrey Epstein's case now that he's dead and whether his victims will ever get justice. Morning Joe is coming right back. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.